or gentlemen, there comes a time in every man's life when he must choose between reacting with noise and responding with silence. When a woman disrespects you, or the weak man argues, begs, or tries to prove himself. But the strong man, he moves differently. He doesn't waste words. He doesn't plead for validation, or he makes silent moves that speak louder than anything he could ever say. The first silent move is withdrawing your energy. Energy is the most powerful currency you carry. Or when you remove your attention, your presence, and your effort, she begins to feel the void. Suddenly, the attention she once took for granted is gone. Or silence becomes louder than arguments because your absence makes her face the reality of what she lost. The second silent move is self-improvement. Or instead of wasting time chasing explanations, you invest in yourself. You hit the gym, grow your business, refine your skills, and level up your life. Or when a woman sees that you did not crumble after her disrespect but rose higher, it plants the seed of regret. Or she realizes she disrespected a man who became even greater without her. The third silent move is setting unshakable boundaries. You don't need to yell, or you don't need to explain. You simply remove access when lines are crossed. Respect is not begged for, it is demanded by the way you carry yourself. Or a man who enforces boundaries in silence shows he will never allow mistreatment, and that command of self makes her think twice. Or the fourth silent move is moving forward with composure. You don't seek revenge, you don't stalk her life, and you don't announce your progress, or you simply live with dignity. Indifference is one of the strongest weapons you possess, because when you no longer react, you show that she has no power over your emotions, or that silence breaks egos more than any argument ever could. The fifth silent move is thriving without her. The ultimate revenge is not anger, it's success. Or it's building a life so fulfilling that she becomes nothing more than a chapter in your story. When she looks back and sees you happy, focused, and unstoppable, or regret becomes inevitable. Because nothing haunts a woman more than realizing she disrespected a man who didn't need her to shine. So remember, or kings, strength is not in shouting, nor in proving yourself to anyone. Strength lies in restraint, discipline, and silent execution. Or a man who knows his worth never begs for respect. He simply lives in a way that demands it. When a woman disrespects you, the instinct for most men is to immediately respond, or to defend themselves, to explain, to argue, or to try to make her understand the weight of what she has done. But here's the truth most men fail to realize, or the more words you use, the weaker your presence becomes. The more you try to argue for your value, the more you silently confess that you are uncertain of it. Or a man who truly knows his worth does not rush to prove it. He allows silence to carry the message that his respect is non-negotiable. Silence is not weakness, silence is control. Or silence is power. It is the art of saying everything without speaking a single word. Because when you don't react, you force the other person to sit with their own actions, or their own behavior and their own guilt. Arguments allow them to shift blame, but silence forces them to face themselves. When you choose silence instead of an emotional outburst, you preserve your frame. You remain grounded and unshaken. Or women test men not with words, but with actions. Disrespect is often a test of your strength, of whether you will crumble under pressure or stand firm with composure. And when you respond with silence, you are showing a strength most men don't have. You're showing that you don't need to engage in chaos, or because your life and your energy are too valuable to waste on noise. That silence lingers in the air long after the moment has passed, because it leaves unanswered questions. Or it makes her wonder what you are thinking, what you are planning, and what direction you are moving in without her. Or that uncertainty creates regret far deeper than any angry reaction could. Think about it. When someone argues back, the energy dies down after a while. The shouting ends, or the words are forgotten, and the disrespect remains. But when you withdraw into silence, that moment doesn't fade so quickly. Instead, it echoes, or it plays over in her mind again and again, because human nature hates unfinished conversations. The lack of closure is what haunts people, and silence is the greatest tool to create that. Silence is not passive, it is active. It is a statement. It is the difference between begging for respect and commanding it. Or when you stop responding, when you stop explaining, when you stop trying to convince someone of your worth, you step into the realm of true masculine power. Or because the man who doesn't fight for respect through words but demands it through presence is the man no one forgets. A man who understands the strength of silence also understands that peace is more valuable than proving a point. Or he knows that by staying quiet, he avoids lowering himself to the level of disrespect. Silence is not retreat, it's elevation, it's rising above the noise of immaturity, or it's keeping your dignity intact while the other person exposes their lack of it. In relationships, a woman may disrespect you thinking she holds the upper hand, but when she meets silence instead of desperation, she realizes she doesn't control the game. She feels the weight of that power shift. Or because silence isn't empty, it's full of discipline, full of mystery, and full of authority. And authority is what creates respect. Arguments are forgotten, but silence is remembered. That is why silence will always be louder than words when disrespect is shown. The natural reaction for many men is to fight back with words, or to demand recognition, or to seek validation from the one who belittled them. But the man who truly understands his value knows that the best response is not to chase, or not to argue, not to attempt to change another's mind, but to turn inward and elevate himself. Self-improvement is the silent move that creates the loudest regret, or it is the process of shifting the focus from what was lost to what can be built. Instead of wasting time replaying the moment of disrespect or questioning why it happened, or you redirect that energy into building a stronger body, a sharper mind, a deeper purpose, and a higher standard of living. Or every hour you invest in yourself is an unspoken declaration that no disrespect has the power to break you, or that instead of crumbling you will only grow stronger. When a man decides to invest in self-improvement, he chooses to rewrite the narrative, or he no longer sees himself as someone who needs to be accepted, but as someone who defines his own worth through discipline and growth. Or the gym becomes a sanctuary where his frustrations transform into strength. Books, learning, and new skills become tools that sharpen his intellect. Or career goals and financial stability become pillars of independence. A man who grows in silence doesn't need to announce his progress because the results will speak for him. Or the very act of choosing progress over reaction plants seeds of regret in the mind of anyone who doubted him. Or because nothing is more haunting than realizing you disrespected someone who went on to outgrow you and thrive without needing you. Self-improvement is also the foundation of masculine composure, or it builds confidence that no argument or external validation could ever create. When you know you are evolving, when you can feel yourself becoming stronger each day, or the opinions of others lose their grip on you. The woman who disrespected you may expect you to linger in the pain, but instead she sees you moving forward, achieving, and transforming into the best version of yourself. That contrast between what she expected and what you became is where regret is born. Or she begins to understand that the man she disrespected was not the man she thought he was. He was a man in transition, a man on his way up, or a man who could not be diminished by her actions. What makes self-improvement such a powerful silent move is that it cannot be denied. No one can argue with results. Or muscles built through sweat, confidence born of discipline, wealth earned through persistence, and peace cultivated through self-mastery all become undeniable evidence of your worth. You don't have to tell anyone you've leveled up. Your presence makes it obvious. And the woman who once dismissed you begins to realize her mistake, not because you told her, but because your growth forced her to see it. Or regret is not created by confrontation. It is created by transformation. The more you evolve, the more undeniable the gap becomes between the man she disrespected and the man you have become. Every time you choose to improve instead of react, you are taking control of the narrative. You are reminding yourself that your value is not tied to another's opinion, but to your own dedication and progress. This is why self-improvement is not only about proving her wrong, but about proving yourself right. It is about becoming so grounded in your worth that disrespect no longer shakes you. And when you reach that point, her regret is only a byproduct of the man you have become. Or the greatest revenge is not anger, it is evolution. Or, and the man who focuses on improving himself in silence always creates an impact that no words could ever match. Our boundaries are not walls meant to keep people out. Or, they are standards that define who you are and what you will tolerate. A man without boundaries invites disrespect, because if you do not set the line, or others will cross it again and again without hesitation. When a woman disrespects you, the silent move that carries the most weight is not shouting, not explaining endlessly, or not trying to make her understand your pain, but calmly and firmly enforcing your boundaries. You do not need to announce them, you do not need to make a scene, or you simply withdraw access when lines are crossed. That quiet but decisive act communicates more powerfully than 1,000 speeches ever could, or because it shows you value yourself enough to walk away from anything that doesn't honor you. A boundary is not about controlling someone else, or it is about controlling yourself. It is the point where you decide what is acceptable and what is not. Most men compromise their standards out of fear of losing someone, and in doing so, they lose respect for themselves. But a man who has unshakable boundaries makes it clear through his actions that he will not lower his value for anyone, or he shows that he can live without comfort, without company, without attention, but he cannot live without respect. And this quiet declaration shakes anyone who thought they could treat him carelessly. When a woman sees that her disrespect leads to distance, that her behavior has consequences, or regret begins to take root, she realizes she is dealing with a man who refuses to be mistreated twice. The beauty of silent boundaries is that they do not require an argument, or you don't need to explain why you are leaving, why you are cutting off access, or why you are no longer available. Your absence is the explanation, or your refusal to engage with disrespect speaks louder than any lecture you could give. Or this is why strong men rarely need to raise their voices. They allow their actions to deliver the message. Or silence combined with boundaries creates an aura of strength that cannot be ignored. It is the unspoken rule that if you do not value me, you do not get me. And when a man lives by this principle, it separates him from the crowd of men who beg for attention even when disrespected. Boundaries also redefine power dynamics. Disrespect often comes from the assumption that you will tolerate it, that you need her too much to walk away. But when you calmly withdraw, or when you take away your presence without debate, you flip the script. Suddenly, she is the one left questioning, doubting, and realizing she overstepped. That shift is what creates regret. Because most people only realize the value of respect once it has been taken away from them. The absence of a man who holds firm boundaries is a mirror that reflects back the weight of their actions. Enforcing boundaries silently also teaches self-respect on a deeper level. Each time you refuse to allow mistreatment, you reinforce your own worth. You begin to see yourself as someone worthy of honor, and that inner belief radiates outward. Others feel it in your presence, in the way you carry yourself, in the way you interact. Boundaries are not spoken promises, they are lived standards. And when you live by them, people know without question where they stand with you. This unshakable clarity commands respect, even from those who once disrespected you, because they realize you are not a man to be taken lightly. The truth is, boundaries are not about punishment, they are about protection. Protection of your peace, your time, your dignity and your self-worth. When you guard these things silently but firmly, you show that you are not a man desperate for validation, you are a man who knows that respect is the foundation of any relationship, and without it, there is nothing left to discuss. And it is in that silence, in that calm withdrawal, in that refusal to bend your standards, that regret is born in the heart of the one who crossed the line. Revenge is the instinct most people run to when they feel disrespected. They want to prove a point, to get even, to make the other person feel the same pain they experienced. But revenge is fueled by emotion, and emotion gives away power. When you seek revenge, you are still tied to the person who wronged you. You are still allowing them to live rent-free in your mind, still investing energy into someone who showed you they did not value you. Indifference, however, is a higher form of strength. Indifference communicates that you are not moved or not shaken and not controlled by what was done to you. It is the silent move that cuts deeper than anger ever could. Or because nothing unsettles someone more than realizing they no longer have any power over you. Indifference is not about pretending you don't care, or it is about truly reaching a state where your peace, your focus, and your direction are untouchable. A woman may expect you to lash out, to argue, to demand recognition, but when you respond with calm disinterest, you create confusion. She begins to question her own significance, or because what once provoked an emotional reaction now meets a wall of stillness. That lack of response is louder than yelling. It says, "Your opinion no longer defines me," or "Your actions no longer control me. I am free from the need to prove anything to you." That kind of detachment creates regret because it shows growth, or it shows that you have elevated to a level where validation is no longer sought outside yourself. The strength of indifference is in its ability to reclaim time and energy. Or when you no longer invest mental space into proving someone wrong, you redirect that focus toward building your life. You no longer carry the weight of bitterness, or because bitterness is still attachment, instead you carry clarity, and clarity breeds power. Or a man who operates with indifference is a man who no longer sees himself as a victim. He sees himself as the author of his story, or a story that will not be rewritten by disrespect or betrayal. And when a woman who disrespected you sees that her actions did not derail your life, did not break your confidence, or did not even slow you down, she cannot help but feel the sting of regret. Indifference also exposes the weakness in others. When someone disrespects you, or often their goal is to provoke a reaction, to test your composure, to see if they can pull you into their emotional chaos. When you refuse to give them that satisfaction, or they are left only with themselves, they are forced to face their own actions without the comfort of your outrage. This silence is not passive, it is active dominance, or it shows that you are in control of yourself while they are still controlled by impulses. That contrast highlights your strength and their weakness, and in that moment, respect begins to shift, because people always regret losing the person who refused to play their games. Indifference also keeps your dignity intact. Or revenge often leads to messy outcomes, to actions that later cause embarrassment or shame. But indifference leaves no stains. It is clean, it is silent, and it is untouchable. Or you walk away with your composure while the other person is left questioning. And the truth is, nothing creates more regret than realizing the person you tried to break didn't even flinch. Or that quiet strength lingers in the mind far longer than any act of revenge ever could. Indifference is not the absence of power. It is the purest expression of it. Or to remain unmoved in the face of disrespect is to prove that your worth does not rise and fall based on anyone else's treatment of you. It shows that you are anchored or grounded and complete on your own. And when you live in this state, people quickly realize that disrespecting you does not diminish you, it only diminishes them. Or that realization is what sparks the deepest kind of regret, because it makes them face the truth that their actions had no control over your destiny, your happiness, or your success. The ultimate power a man holds after being disrespected is not in trying to make someone feel guilty, not in proving his worth through words, and not in chasing closure that will never come. The true strength lies in building a life so fulfilling, so strong, and so undeniably elevated that the one who disrespected you can only look back with regret. Thriving without her is not about showing off, it is about creating a reality where her presence or absence makes no difference to your growth. It is about reaching a level where your happiness, success, and fulfillment are not dependent on who walks in or out of your life. When you thrive without her, you silently declare that your world does not collapse because of anyone's choices. You show that you are the source of your own stability, your own progress, And your own joy. A man who thrives after disrespect is a man who refuses to stay stuck in the shadow of the past. Instead of replaying what happened or drowning in bitterness, he channels that pain into productivity. Every setback becomes fuel for a greater comeback. He hits the gym not to impress her, but to build the strongest version of himself. He pursues his career, his business, and his passions not to prove a point, but to create a life of independence and abundance. He invests in his mental health or his spiritual growth and his inner peace because he knows that thriving is not just about material success, it is about holistic transformation. And when this transformation becomes visible, regret naturally follows. Because the woman who once thought she could diminish you now sees that her disrespect became the very spark that elevated you. Thriving without her also sends a message that cannot be ignored. While revenge may fade and arguments may be forgotten, undeniable growth is impossible to overlook. Success is the language everyone understands. When you are healthy, confident, or financially stable and deeply fulfilled, people see it. They feel it in your presence. And the woman who disrespected you begins to realize that she is no longer a central figure in your story. You didn't just move on, you moved up. That realization is a heavy burden to carry because it makes her face the truth that her disrespect did not stop you, it only motivated you to become more. The beauty of thriving without her is that it strips her of the power she once believed she had over you. Many times, disrespect comes from the assumption that you need her, that without her validation you are incomplete. But when you rise higher without seeking her approval, when you glow brighter without her energy, when you are undeniably happier without her presence, the narrative shifts entirely. She goes from believing she had the upper hand to realizing she was simply a stepping stone in your journey. And that shift creates the deepest form of regret, because nothing is harder to accept than losing someone who didn't just survive without you, but flourished without you. Thriving without her is not only about showing strength to the outside world, it is about proving something to yourself. It is about looking in the mirror and seeing a man who refuses to be broken, a man who takes control of his destiny, a man who understands that self-respect and discipline are the foundation of greatness. The day you wake up and realize that your happiness no longer depends on her presence is the day you step fully into your power. And when she sees that power, when she witnesses the man you have become, she cannot help but regret the disrespect that pushed you away. Because in your thriving, she sees the undeniable truth. You were never the one who lost. She was the man who understands his worth, knows that silence and composure are not signs of weakness, but signals of discipline. When faced with disrespect, most men waste their energy trying to change perceptions or control outcomes. But the one who operates from strength realizes that control is never about others. It is always about himself. Mastering the ability to walk away, to protect his peace, and to carry himself with dignity is the silent move that shakes everything around him. The world is noisy, filled with people who react instantly, who show anger, who broadcast their pain. But the man who can remain calm and steady, the man who can remove himself without chaos, stands out with a power that cannot be ignored. That quiet strength forces reflection in anyone who thought they could handle him carelessly. Because nothing is more unsettling than a man who cannot be provoked. Self-control is the essence of masculine power. It is not about showing that you can dominate others, it is about showing that you can dominate yourself. When a woman disrespects you and you choose not to crumble, not to lash out, not to beg, but to maintain composure, you reveal a depth of strength most cannot comprehend. Your silence tells her that her words or actions did not break your foundation, and your calm exit makes her confront the reality of what she has done. In that moment, regret begins to take root. Because she sees that you are a man who values peace more than drama, a man who values self-respect more than temporary validation. Walking away with composure leaves a stronger impact than any form of confrontation ever could. A composed man is not easily replaced because composure itself is rare. In a culture where most people are driven by impulses, the one who can step back, breathe, and act with intention becomes unforgettable. Women may expect anger, or they may expect desperate words, but they do not expect silence paired with dignity. And when their expectations are not met, or when the anticipated drama is replaced with stillness, it creates a void that cannot be ignored, or that void whispers louder than any argument because it communicates that you are already beyond the need for their approval, or it communicates that your emotional stability is rooted in something deeper than external validation. That is what makes her question, or that is what makes her regret. Composure also demonstrates leadership over your own life. A man who does not control his reactions is easily led, easily manipulated, or easily disrespected again. But the man who refuses to be shaken, who maintains calm even when disrespected, or makes it clear that he will never be controlled by another's chaos, that clarity creates respect even in absence. It teaches others that they cannot sway your emotions at will, and it forces them to see that you are not a man to be tested lightly. Or a composed man builds a reputation that precedes him, one that silently communicates strength without ever needing to shout it. Or that reputation itself is enough to create regret in those who mistook composure for weakness. The act of walking away with dignity is one of the hardest skills to master, yet it is also one of the most powerful. It requires discipline, restraint, and unshakable self-worth. But once mastered, it becomes a shield against disrespect. No matter what is thrown your way, your silence and composure protect you from being dragged into battles that are beneath you. They elevate you above the noise, and in that elevation, you force others to confront the weight of their own actions. A woman who sees you leave without bitterness, without rage, but with complete calm is left with a memory she cannot escape. She is left with the image of a man too strong to be broken, too disciplined to be baited, and too focused to be held back. And that image stays with her, creating regret long after you have walked away.